Knock, knock. Holly answered the door. Hi, I'm Joe from Animal Control. We've been getting calls from your neighbors today about your barking dog. Oh my, you mean Abby? Said Holly. Abby was a loving pet dog, but she had a few, shall we say, bad habits. You see, Abby was mischievous, and from about 6 months old, she was more than a handful. This was not exactly what Holly had in mind once the kids were all out of the house. She never once thought getting a dog would be more work than having a toddler. In fact, Holly thought being an empty nester was going to be a joy, since she had a dog to keep her company. But it wasn't. Abby was taking over her life. Not only did Abby use the living room floor as her own personal bathroom whenever she felt like it, she also wasn't making Holly very popular with the neighbors from all the barking. Not to mention Holly's husband was fed up with Abby. He complained like crazy when Abby had chewed up his favorite slippers, and at least once a week he had stepped in a doggy pile. Abby even growled and barked at his golf buddies when they came by the house. Soon he made Holly an ultimatum. Get that dog trained, or someone has to go. Either Abby or me. Despite the fact that Abby was making her life miserable at times, Holly could not bear the thought of losing Abby. She was lonely at home, and Abby was a loving companion. There had to be something she could do to turn Abby into the faithful, obedient dog she had pictured when she brought her home. Then it got even worse for Holly. Just 2 weeks after the first animal control visit, Abby escaped through an open door, and this time it could have been tragic. You see, the next-door neighbor was getting her house painted, and Abby didn't like it one bit. So she stalked the painter like a lioness stalks a gazelle. The painter tried to shoo her away, but Abby lunged and bit him right in the hand, just as Holly arrived with a leash. The painter was angry, furious in fact. Despite Holly begging for forgiveness, the painter grabbed his cell phone and called Animal Control. "You've really done it this time, Abby," Holly said to her proud dog as she brought her inside. An hour later, Animal Control arrived. The officer looked at Holly and shook his head. He was all set to take Abby in for quarantine. Holly begged the Animal Control officer, the same one that was there 2 weeks earlier. She asked if there was anything she could do to keep Abby out of doggy jail. But the Animal Control officer was concerned. 2 calls in 2 weeks. "Look," said the officer, "your dog barks. She's aggressive. And excuse me for saying, but from the smell of your house, I'd say she's not housebroken. Have you ever tried to train her?" Holly grabbed a stack of dog training books. "Yes, I have. I've read all these books, but nothing ever seems to work with Abby." Just then, Holly noticed her neighbor Jim walking down the sidewalk. His dog Max walked faithfully at his side. Max walked right by the painter next door. No problem. Barely even a glance. Jim walked to her door, and Max sat down immediately and looked at Jim, awaiting his next order. "Here's some of your mail the postman accidentally put in my mailbox," he said. Then he glanced at the Animal Control officer and said, "Is everything okay here, Holly?" Holly was embarrassed, humiliated in fact, but she grabbed the mail and told Jim everything was fine. Jim commanded Max to come, and they walked away. Max's tail wagging like a happy, fulfilled dog, he dutifully walked at Jim's side. Holly stared at Jim and Max as they walked away. She was jealous of how well-behaved Max acted, and the Animal Control officer had noticed too.